tells you that you might be leading before you think you're ready. Welcome back to your favorite early career nurse podcast. I'm your host, Mackenzie Simmons, and I'm so excited about today's episode, as this is a topic profound within my own early career years. Today, we are unpacking a truth that may come unexpected, especially early in your nursing career, and that's leadership. They don't tell you, but one day you'll look around and realize that people are following your lead, and you might not feel ready, that you're making decisions that affect more than just you. Speaking with the confidence you're trying to build, carrying expectations you never consciously signed up for. Leadership doesn't always arrive with a title, a promotion, or a moment of clarity. Sometimes it shows up quietly in the group chat where everyone waits for your answer, in the room where your voice suddenly holds weight, in the situations where stepping back is no longer an option. You aren't told, but one day you'll look around and realize that people are following your lead, that they care about your opinion, and you may not feel ready. You may feel incapable at times, or that you don't have enough experience to truly be a meaningful leader. But we are here to dispel the myth that early career nurses are not leaders. Early career nurses are leaders because all nurses are leaders. Some may earn titles such as charge nurse or unit-based council chair or hold other leadership roles, while other nurses lead their patients, community, and family without having assumed a particular title. No matter what, as a nurse, you've been called to lead. And the truth, you might not feel equipped. You might never feel equipped. You might second guess yourself, compare yourself, or wonder if someone else would do it better. But here's what no one emphasizes enough. Most people step into leadership before they feel ready. Readiness isn't the prerequisite. It's something you grow into. In this episode, we're talking about what it really feels like to lead before you think you're capable. The doubt, the pressure, and the unexpected growth. And how to navigate that space without losing yourself in the process. And how to lead strongly, even as an early career nurse. Because maybe the moment you feel unprepared is actually the moment you've already begun and the start to unlocking something incredible. On today's episode, I am happy to introduce you to two people who have been influential on my leadership journey. Everyone welcome Andrea Wollitz and Aminah Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having us.
We are so excited to have you both on today as we take a deeper dive into all things leadership. To start, can y'all tell me a little bit about yourselves and your background?
Well, my name is Aminah Johnson. I am a mom of four beautiful children. I've been a nurse for almost 7 years. I currently work in ICU and as a nurse educator part-time. My background consists of my leadership role with FNA, Florida Nurses Association, as the Northwest Region Director and previous early career grad director. But my nursing career background consists of med surg, PCU, step down, labor and delivery, ED, trauma, case management, and dialysis. So
All
I
the
have
stuff.
a pretty good well-rounded career so far. Most of what my experience entailed was a float nurse at one particular hospital, which is where I gained the majority of that experience. I was able to cross-train and float on pretty much each floor of the hospital. So I'm very thankful and grateful for that experience that I had.
That's amazing. We're so happy to have you.
Thank
Andrea?
you.
So my name's Andrea Wollitz. I am a mother to two beautiful kids. Well, they're almost full adults now, a 21-year-old and a 17-year-old. I graduated from Jacksonville University with my bachelor's in nursing, bachelor of health science. So I did Student Nurses Association while I was at JU. So that started kind of that leadership role and activity After that, I ran for Director South for the National Student Nurses Association. And I achieved that role. So then I represented the NSNA at the national level. So even as a student nurse, I was always interested in kind of a leadership role. So transition to professional, so clinical background. I started in critical care on the medical ICU at UF Health Jacksonville. After that, I transitioned over to the neuro ICU. There I was a staff nurse, and then I became charge nurse. I cared for the patients with neurological and medical conditions. And then last month, I transitioned to a cardiac catheterization nurse. So I started in our cath lab at UF Health Jacksonville. So it's one of the things I like about nursing is the diversity to get to transition and have so many different roles. Um, it's like one of the best things about this job is you can do so many different roles in so many different areas and learn so much. So that's one of the things I definitely appreciate about it. So beyond that, I'm involved professionally also as a trustee for the Florida Nurses Foundation, and then participate actively with the Florida Nurses Association, and then also going back to school for my DNP FNP at the University of Florida. Go Gators!
Wow, y'all have quite the resumes, and I've always looked up to both of you as leaders, so I'm so excited about this episode. So, leadership can happen anywhere and at any time. Sometimes it happens before we think we're ready. When you hear the phrase, leading before you're ready, what does that mean to you personally?
Well, to me, leading before I'm ready. Um, it's understanding that readiness is often a feeling, not a requirement. In nursing, especially high acuity settings like ICU, where there are moments where I had to step up, guide others, or make decisions before I felt completely confident. So, being on the floor will cause you to step into that role whether you feel ready or not, um, because you learn so much. And as nurses, we teach, and
Mhm.
so whenever newer nurses come along or someone transitions to a new specialty, it's an innate thing to want to help guide and lead. um, and I know that is the case for me. I love precepting. I love teaching. So I think that leadership sometimes is just an innate characteristic.
I love that. Yes. And leadership does come in all shapes, sizes, and fonts. So, what does being a leader mean to you?
So I think being a leader to me means you don't necessarily have to lead like your unit or a certain group or an organization. So you can have a positive impact on the people around you through your service and just being an example. It doesn't have to be necessarily a title attached to the leadership. You can carry yourself, and that can be an example of good leadership. With your coworkers, your unit, your community. It doesn't even have to be necessarily, within a hospital setting. Just giving people that power to feel motivated and to grow, especially in nursing. I feel like nurses today just need so much confidence poured into them, and just to let them know, hey, it's going to be okay. You're doing a great job. I understand there's a lot of stuff going on, but you're doing a great job. And I think it's in everyday moments, advocating for the patients, helping your fellow coworkers during a shift, especially in the ICU situations. Like Aminah said, it's, you can't necessarily have time to think. You got to act, right then and kind of jump into that role. And strong leaders, I think you have to be willing to listen, remain adaptable, and continue learning along the side the people who are older and learn from their examples and are willing to lead you. And then you lead others kind of in that same, see one, do one, teach one kind of example as well when it comes to leadership.
Yes, I love that. Being a leader is part of nursing. And, sometimes it can be scary. How have y'all stepped out and been a leader outside of work in nursing? Because that could be kind of harder. As a nurse, you are a leader, it's expected of you. Is this important to you? And how can you step out and be a leader outside of the nursing realm?
My leadership experience started with F&A. I I know I've told this story several times, but when I was in nursing school, I was a member of the Student Nurses Association, and I had the opportunity to come to Tallahassee to advocacy days, and it opened up my perspective of what nurses can actually do outside of the bedside, which really sparked that leadership desire in me, as as an advocate. So the day I graduated nursing school, I joined Florida Nurses Association and have been a member ever since. But transitioning from that, a few years later, I was able to get a position on the board and as the early career grad director. And I mean, it was a different name at that time. It was new grad nurse, um, new grad nurse director, and then early career grad director was a transition title. But with that role, I had to learn from everyone on the board and just kind of transition through that period. And then from FNA, that opened me up to ANAI, which is the American Nurse Advocacy Institute. That's an internship program that's a year long. They choose you based on your essay that you have to write, and you have the ability to go to Washington D.C. and learn advocacy from a U.S. level, from a federal level. Um, I also sit on the board of directors for the Northwest Florida Health Council. So it started with something small, and it kept going just because once you realize how big your voice can be as an advocate in nursing, you want to spread that and that awareness to other nurses, and you do that by stepping up to the plate. But aside from organizations, just being able to be available as a preceptor, being able to be available as, a nurse educator. As soon as I got my master's in nursing, I went into nursing education just because that's one of my passions. So you can be a leader in several different areas outside of bedside nursing, but it does start there where you get your experience, in my opinion.
Love that. So, as leaders, sometimes we have to step up unexpectedly, and it might not come with a title or a job promotion or even, a second thought. In the moment, what goes through your mind? Have you embraced it? Did you hesitate? Explain a time when you had to step up unexpectedly.
Uh, there's been a few times. I would say for nursing wise, when we have patients deteriorating and we have to jump in immediately into that situation without hesitation. And it's second nature, right? You don't even think about it because your first thought is your patient. That's what, as a nurse, that is just what we're born and bred. That's, first thought and priority. As a leader, there have been situations where we don't have any other option and you have this history of doing X, Y, and Z, and so we think you're the best fit, and so here you go, and it's kind of just handed over to you. So first reaction to those situations are hesitation and thinking there's no way I can do this. I'm not ready for that. I don't have enough experience for that. I don't want that extra responsibility. I have a family, I have kids, I have 4 jobs, I have all this other stuff going on. But once you move past that and you look back and you think about it and you think, but maybe this will grow me in ways that will give me a little bit more confidence when it comes to that leadership role. And maybe this is what I might need to help carry that leadership opportunity and transition it over to bedside practice, right? Because we do have the opportunities within the leadership role that do transition to help us in our bedside practice. So you kind of get confidence in both ways, and they yin and yang off of each other. So being an amazing bedside nurse also transitions to help you be an amazing leader. An amazing leader helps you be an amazing bedside nurse. So
Yes, for sure. And like I can just think of my own nursing career. I recently, a few months ago, was asked to be charge nurse, which was really unexpected because I'm like, I haven't even been a nurse for 2 years at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. There were nurses on the floor that were older than me. I was like, I don't know enough. Like, y'all are gonna trust me. And I would always joke, I'd be like, it doesn't feel like there's an adult on the floor. But in that moment, like I knew I was capable. Like I knew that my manager trusted me, to do a good job. And I really feel like it grew me and it made me, a better nurse, a better leader. And I saw that there were a lot of the other nurses on the floor looking up to me. And as I'm transitioning into a new role in my hospital as an ICU nurse, I feel like those moments in the progressive unit as charge nurse really did prepare me, to be so much stronger in my nursing practice. So sometimes quiet leadership or, leadership that's unexpected is, the biggest like blessing ever. So, are there any more examples of a quiet leadership moment that had a huge impact on your own nursing careers?
A quiet leadership moment for me was when I was mentoring a student during clinicals. Um, she was visibly nervous before going into the patient's room because she had to do Foley placement, or, we helped with Foley placement. And I was able to, just talk her through it and just let her know that it's human to be nervous when you are on a real human and not a mannequin.
Yes.
But when we went through the steps, sterile technique and everything, she went through them. She told me each step, and I could see that confidence building, like, okay, I got this. And it made me feel good because I was able to transition her in that moment where she was nervous. So, leadership is not always loud. Sometimes those quiet moments have a huge impact.
I 100% agree. I love those moments when, you're just with someone you trust. You're able to just say, like, I look up to you. You have made such an impact on my nursing career journey. And, sometimes it's those quiet moments, just being, with someone and learning something new, and I myself have many people that I looked up to. Y'all are two of the people that I 100% look up to. I also look up to my manager at work. She's been a huge impact in my nursing career journey, and I'm so thankful for her. And also my work mom, even though she doesn't like to be called my work mom, but she looks exactly like me. But how has your leadership shaped your outlook of nursing? And are there any senior nurses that you particularly look up to and that you have learned during this stage?
I'll say leadership has definitely shaped the outlook by showing me that nursing is way more than clinical skills and just clinical skills, and about like checking the box, right? Finishing your charting correctly. It's about, advocacy for your patient, communication with both patient, family, staff, everyone. Support for both the patients and your coworkers. There's going to be days where you feel like you need to be there more for your coworkers than your patients, and vice versa, where they feel like they need to support you also. I believe that nursing care depends heavily on teamwork, intelligence, and that willingness to kind of step forward in the difficult moments. Nursing's taught me that you play a critical role in shaping healthcare systems, workflows, being a mentor, especially to the student nurses, like when they come to the floors, and advocating for the change. And like Aminah said, the being that political side of things. And once you realize that you do have a voice, and what if we come together, the change that nurses can make for us is I can't wait. Like I can't wait to see what we do, especially with the future generations that are coming. Like it it's going to be incredible what future generations I think are able to accomplish for us. But perspective as a leadership, it happens like you were saying, quietly, consistently. And I think it's just remaining calm and knowing that you're making a change, even though you may not see it immediately. But it's there and it's happening. And for me, I had a lot of senior nurses on my unit when I started on MICU. There were so many that taught me so well. And a few of them are still there, but a few of them have retired and have left. But there was so many that were there. I started on night shift, so I called them the night mamas and my ates. So they were there for me and taught me so much. Like I owe them so much of my nursing knowledge. So I love them.
That's so great. And, sometimes it's, those nurses that, didn't expect to be a leader to you. And you're like, hey, you're a leader to me. And you're like, what? I'm leading someone, And time goes by so fast, before you know it, you're going to be that senior nurse. So you never know who's, behind you. Like Andrea said, there's so many generations, and we are making such a difference in nursing. And one of the things I love about nursing is that nurses support nurses, and we can continue supporting each other and growing with one another because, we're stronger together. So, within your early career journeys, how did you balance learning and leading at the same time? Give me some examples of how you stepped out as a leader during this time.
Um, I I would say it really did start during nursing school because Student Nurses Association really um, was a foundational aspect of my career. I started as the project manager and then went to vice president the next term, and then I was the vice president subsequent term. So we were very adamant about having our meetings and really putting ourselves into it, even in the midst of education, even in the midst of med surge 2 and 3, But even after graduation, the decision to pursue continuing education, that's that's a tough decision when you are working full time, but being able to press through and utilize the knowledge that you gain while you're in school is very valuable. And it does create that leadership role almost innately because you take from the experiences that you have on a daily basis, the good and, every step of the process while you're learning on the floor and continuing education is so valuable and important during your journey into a leadership role, whether you have a title or you don't.
100%. Yes, and I'm so glad you talked about the Student Nurses Association because we definitely have some student nurses listening, and I myself and Andrea both became involved in, SNA and NSNA. I actually followed right in her footsteps, and she actually influenced me to run from the floor for NSNA, which was something so unexpected, and I was like, this is not going to go well, and I'm just so thankful for those opportunities, where you step out and it benefits you. So, what is something that you've learned because you had to lead before you thought you were ready? How has this shaped, you as a leader? And did you think that you were ready?
So, and I just have to say, look at you now, girl. You did so good. I remember you were just like, oh, I'm never gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. That was such a fun conference. But anyways, okay. Um, reminiscing. But you've
Yes.
done amazing. I'm like a proud mama of you. You like you make me so happy and proud of you. Okay. So I would say
It's my mother's.
so I would say balancing the learning and leading because it is definitely hard. Still like working and going back to school, and it's definitely challenging. But it also grows you because challenge always grows you in ways, in one way or another, in ways you may not know or understand. Um, but it'll help you and it helps you also to stay focused, or at least for me, anyways. It's like I don't know what to do if I'm not busy because I've always been busy. So I like staying busy, staying teachable, asking questions about things, and just continuously improving. And also always being like dependable and willing to step up when needed, right? Because nursing is a team, right? Nursing is
Yes.
not a self, it's a team. So and just understanding that leadership, it's also about not being the most experienced person in the room, right? Like you, sometimes leadership is like meant to like have someone with you and you not being the person that knows everything. So it's like saying, hey, I need help. I need you. Like, I need your help. I need your knowledge. I need your expertise. Like, being able to recognize that and step up, then that is an example of being a leader. Like it's there's so many examples and ways to grow leadership skills and leadership within yourself. So I would say that just being supportive of others around you and just being supportive of yourself, lean on those other experienced nurses and mentors that you have that are around you, um, communicate, and just be sure that you kind of know how to handle that pressure when it comes instead of just trying to be like bottle it all in and be like, I can't take it, and just adaptable to change and feedback. When someone gives you feedback, accept it and let that grow you, and let that build that trust within yourself and also your team.
I love that. Nursing is definitely teamwork, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of teamworks, sometimes you might look around and you're like, oh, I feel like people think I'm not a leader, like I'm not ready. Have you ever felt like others were questioning your competence and leadership abilities as an early career nurse? Because I've definitely been there. And how did this affect you? How did you handle the stress and the doubt?
Um, I would say that not necessarily questioning, but sometimes some nurses can be mean, which is where, nurses eat their young comes from. And you are challenged, like if especially like in a rapid response situation, if you just got a patient on the floor from the ED and they are a rapid response and you have all these people asking you questions and you can only go off of a report that you got like 2 minutes ago, you can feel, a little bit intimidated in that scenario. Or if you have a doctor that comes by and asks questions that maybe you don't know, sometimes it can be a little intimidating, but we grow through those challenges and you learn, gather as much data as you can prior to, and you learn, you learn as you go. But I think that sometimes challenges are good, because it does help you to really expand your boundaries and confidence by, you know, that first situation I didn't know, but the second time it came around, I knew, and I knew what to say and knew what to do and I knew what to ask for. That's what S bar is, being able to give that recommendation. I recommend that we start IV fluids for this dehydration. Being able to build that confidence that can come from those uncomfortable situations.
I
So,
love that. And I think, as we, progress in our nursing career journeys and as we, continue to think critically, we will become more comfortable with being uncomfortable, and just stepping out more and more in leadership roles. However, sometimes leadership doesn't always, come with you're ready. You're saying, yes, I want this. Like, worked for this. Sometimes there might be a little bit of pressure. Someone saying, like, you need to do this. You're the one that we need during this time. So, have you ever felt pressure to hold a leadership role or to step up because nobody else was stepping up? And how did you handle this? What were your feelings? And, what happened?
So for me, I know we opened our neuro ICU unit. Matter of fact, we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary this past Tuesday of our
Woo!
our neuro ICU being opened. And shortly after, I was asked to take the charge nurse role. I wasn't sure I wanted wanted that role that soon and that quickly, but there wasn't too many other people who wanted to also step into that role at that time. So, but I also felt that maybe this was an opportunity to have that growth and learn, a new skill and learn to kind of trust myself, right? Grow myself because all about constant growth. And a saying that I like to repeat to myself is that, you know, just because you feel uncertain, it doesn't mean that you're unqualified.
I
So,
love that.
yeah, just because you're uncertain of being able to hold that position, it doesn't mean that you're unqualified to hold that position, right? So, I always like to remind myself of that when that little sliver of doubt may come along, and just say that it, even though I might have self doubt, everyone has self doubt, right? All of us. So, but you won't know until you try, right? So, and then I think it also helps to focus less on being perfect and having that perfection, and more on the consistency, right? Because as long as you remain consistent in everything that you're doing, in the preparation and the teamwork and your leadership skills, and that is what others look for in a leader. And that's what your coworkers look for is that consistency. Are you being fair? Are you being equal? And that means a lot to them is that, hey, I may not like it, but that's fair. I just admitted 2 days ago, but it's my turn again. And I know that that's fair. So it's having that trust with everyone. And I think building that rapport definitely is one of the things that I would say has definitely helped with having to forcefully choosing a leadership role.
That's great, and you're the perfect example of calm under pressure. And you have always stepped up to the plate to be a leader in so many ways, and I admire you for that. How do you protect your mental energy while showing up for others and leading with confidence?
Protecting your mental energy is so important as a nurse. It's important to set boundaries, prioritize rest, self-care, drinking water, going to the bathroom, simple things, during a shift that can seem, impossible sometimes because of how busy you are. But, while you're at work, being able to prioritize getting something to eat, taking a break, having somebody doing a quick, um, turnover so that somebody can watch a patient while you go take your 30-minute break and eat, recoup. And away from work, rest is very important. Rest is very important. I said it twice for a reason because it's so important to be able to take a break mentally, do things that promote self-care, such as, getting a massage, exercising, um, having social time with your friends, being able to decompress, is so important to our own mental health because we stay focused on our patients and our career and everything that goes with it, even in a leadership role. But we have to balance that self-care aspect of who we are so that we can be our best selves to our patients and to our community.
So I definitely agree. Mental health is something that nurses, I think, lack within them. So, like, we speak on it very heavily and we promote it for our patients and our families. And then we don't listen to our own advice when it comes to mental health and self care because we think that we're strong enough and we don't necessarily need that. But you need that. Take the break. Like you need self care and your brain needs rest. Like everyone needs it, especially nurses. That is one thing that I cannot stress enough. And when you start as a new nurse, you always want to be like the yes person, right? Yes, I will do it for you. Yes, I'll go grab it. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I'll pick up that extra shift. Yes, I'll cover this, and yes, I'll cover that. And it's hard just as a nurse in general, I think we have that innate yes in us. It's hard to say no, like as a nurse, I think, at first, as a new nurse. And then you learn to like grow into no, I I need space and I need rest and I need me time. So I think you learn it as you get further into your career and it's something that develops better. But give yourself permission to step back mentally and especially after a difficult shift and just take that time to be like I need a few minutes and then refocus and then on your off days focus on personal goals, family time, you time, go relax, get some sun and breathe fresh oxygen, drink water, like I mean, it's that go to the bathroom and eat. Like it's things that you don't even think about when you are like slammed and in the middle of admissions and codes and shift work and I got to finish this charting because I want to leave like when the next shift gets here. I don't want to have to stay and catch up. It's there's so much happening in our days and just in your brain and your everyday routine where you get lost and you kind of lose yourself sometimes and you kind of need to reel yourself back in. And that's where that mental break and that you time can help you refocus. And for it's different things for different people. For some people, it's reading. For some people, it's massages. That's me. Facials, getting your nails done, right? Pedicures, whatever it is for you. Sunshine, the beach, sun, sand, like do that because you deserve it. First of all, nursing is one of the hardest jobs. To me, it's the hardest job other than being a mother. Like you deserve that time and you deserve that mental break, so give that to yourself because everyone deserves it. And as a leader, it makes you a stronger leader to be that example, to be like it's okay to say no, I can't do everything myself. I need the break. I need the me time. And people see that and they're like, okay, well, if she needs it, then I might need it. And so people can see that and you're an example for others. So
And yes, Andrea, I'm so glad that you said it's okay to say no because not a lot of people will tell you this. And on our past episode, episode 3 of No One Tells You This, we actually do a deep dive into, all things, saving your mental energy and learning how to prioritize self-care because, yes, it's okay to say no. Although it could be hard, and it was really hard for me as an early career nurse to learn to be okay with saying no. But, sometimes we do need the break, and you've earned your break. Don't feel like, you need to do X, Y, and Z to, do something. Just being a nurse, being a human, you've earned those 30 minutes. So go take it and, make sure that you do prioritize yourself before, you go and help others because without a full cup, you can't pour into someone else. So, what habits or mindset shifts have helped you grow into leadership more confidently?
Um, Preparation, reflection, and embracing a growth mindset are very big factors. Things like time management, which you learn as you develop your skills in nursing. You learn how important time management is and clustering care. Um, and being intentional about what you do. So if you know that you are working 3 shifts in a row, have your things ready so that you can hit the ground running, do your assessments, get your meds passed so that you can be intentional about what you do and learn each from each experience that you have in nursing. It's so important to learn from each experience because it's how your nursing career grows. But habits and mindsets are important because we have to be in that mindset to know that we have all of these tasks that we have to do, all these orders that we have to follow. We got to get them done within this time frame. Even though nursing is a 24-hour job, we have our set to do in 12 hours. So being able to do that for each patient in a systematic approach is so important. And you can't really get to that point until you develop your own way of doing things, your own routine. I make my own report sheets because I like the way it flows when I'm giving report. But whatever works for you to be able to be as efficient as possible, it helps translate that into your care as a nurse.
That's so good, and as we continue to grow as leaders and as nurses, different habits will just come innate, and I've definitely seen how I've changed and developed as a nurse, and I'm so thankful, for different things. Like that. How can early career nurses step out into leadership roles? And do titles matter? Do you need a title to be a leader?
I don't think you need a title at all to be a leader. I think everyone is a leader within themselves, like automatically. It just depends on at what level of a leader that you are. Some are leaders within, and some are leaders, externally, kind of introvertedly and extrovertedly. I think some of the strongest leader qualities come through like everyday actions, and some mentor with their peers, coworkers, and some like you don't have to wait to become a charge nurse or a manager, to be a leader. And one way like new nurses and early nurses can get involved is like committees, unit councils, join professional nursing organizations, FNA, ANA. If you are critical care, you could join critical care organizations. Volunteer for projects, help do different things. If your unit is participating in research, there's so many opportunities to kind of get involved and let that build that confidence in you and your communication skills with others and coworkers and management and leadership, and kind of see like how things work and how it flows. And then one thing is like be teachable. So from those, older nurses and leaders that you are kind of looking up to, just be open and teachable for them to kind of like you said, pour into you, right? So that way you're learning from them kind of early on. And then ask questions, like let anything that you have a question about, ask, because that is the continued learning. Nursing is never the same, and healthcare is always changing and evolving. So there's always going to be something new to learn. And so you'll be able to contribute when it comes time. And titles, they are a structure wise, like you need a title for manager, president, vice president, but that doesn't define who you are or your level of leadership. It's the responsibility of the structure in which you might stand for the organization or whatever role you might be in. But that doesn't make you a strong leader. Having a title does not make you a strong leader. You are a strong leader within yourself. I've had people with formal titles who didn't necessarily have the ability to have that title in certain circumstances. And then I've had people who didn't have a title at all who were amazing and were like leaders to me, who outshined by far, with no title at all. And the amazing mentors and leaders. So I don't think you need a title. Nurse. Nurse RN is a title.
Woo! Yes, and as nurses, we're all leaders. So always remember that. And like Andrea said, continue seeking, knowledge, whether that's asking questions, looking for ways, to grow, whether it's leadership or just learning something new, asking questions are a great way to learn, a great way to get involved, and, just to make friends on your unit, because those are the people that are going to be beside you every single step of the way. And some of my greatest memories is just being with people on my unit. I, have such great nurses on my unit, and I'm so thankful for all of them. And I continue to learn every single day, and I'm so thankful that now I'm learning even more as, stepping out into a critical care nurse. So, you know, leading into this, what does leadership look like for you right now, and what are some of your future goals for leadership?
Right now, it's mentorship. I'm a nurse educator, so continuing to develop that art of teaching, being a leader from the classroom and clinical aspect. Continuing education is very important to me. Um, and advocacy, continuing to be in the roles that allow a seat at the table for us to advocate for nurses and for our patients. Um, so being able to promote clinical excellence, promote educational excellence, and nursing excellence, that encompasses growth as you continue to pour into yourself, as we discussed earlier. As you continue to pour into yourself, you can pour out to other people and continue to be that nurse advocate, be that nurse that stands out as a leader, but even in a quiet way. Like we just stated, you don't have to have a title, but that strength from the knowledge base that you obtain and the experience that you obtain, moving on in the future, continuing education, continuing on with the focus of advocacy. That's my passion and my future and my present.
I love that, and I can't wait to see you continue to grow into that. Andrea?
So very similar. Well, leadership for me is staying connected to the growth, education, advocacy, mentorship, completing my education and becoming hopefully an amazing clinician for my families, especially our patient population that we have around Jacksonville. I really want to get out into the community and be that doctor and leader for them to be able to advocate for my patients and hopefully get them the care that they need and deserve. And I want to learn how to improve our systems and like advocate for them and hopefully step more into that advocacy role to hopefully get them the care that they need, but also for the nursing side as well, step more into that advocacy role to advocate for nurses and get what nurses deserve as well. So hopefully both patient and nurses end up becoming and achieving and getting what they both deserve for themselves. And then contribute to, evidence-based practice and do what's best for the patients on that side of things for healthcare teams. And leadership-wise, continue to contribute with Florida Nurses Foundation and Florida Nurses Association. They're amazing. Everyone needs to join. And then and then just stay focused on improving access to care for that. It's something that's really true and near and dear to my heart, especially for mental health as well. Just getting that mental health access for patients, that is something else that I really want to try and focus on. And then just know that leadership is not defined by the accomplishment and the impact that happens. It's the leader that is willing to advocate and hopefully make change and just uplift everyone. Like we said, like everyone, you don't need that title necessarily. It's just through the effort and what people see you doing. You're just trying to accomplish that change. That's just make this world a better place to be in and live in. And that's, I think, every nurse's goal is to have that improvement. So hopefully that happens. That's end goal.
Woo! Yes.
I would like to add one other thing. No matter what we do, having a strong support system is so important. I have been very blessed and thankful to have Willa and all of the board members that I've been blessed to sit on the board with. I've been blessed to have them as resources to reach out if I have questions. Caitlin, this team environment is so important because it allows us to not be the one that knows everything in the room and be able to go to, somebody who has vast knowledge. Willa always jokes about, being, old as gold, but, her experience is invaluable, and being able to have the resources of the board members and, the different FNA members is invaluable. So, using those resources in addition to continuing education and in addition to patient care and teaching and everything, all of that will help to continue on in this role as advocate. So I just wanted to just say thank you to my mentors and people that I look up to as well, because it's very important to have a strong support system to be able to lean on.
100%. I could not agree more. And early career nurses, nursing students, and anyone else who's listening, if you're saying, yes, this resonates with me, I want to get more involved, or yeah, I found myself stepping out, in leadership, roles that I wasn't expected for. Just know that the Florida Nurses Association is here to support you through anything in your nursing career journey, and I'm so thankful for their impact on my own nursing career journey. I encourage you to, go and sign up, get involved, continue to say yes to so many things in your nursing career journey. But do realize it's okay to say no. It's just important when to say no. And, FNA, no matter what, is, there to support you each and every single step. This discussion has been so meaningful for me as a leader in my early career years. I loved reflecting with both of you. Before we close, are there any words of wisdom or encouragement that you would love to give our listeners and future nurse leaders?
Keep moving forward, continue to advocate, continue to promote self-care, and you got this.
Same. I would say don't wait until you feel completely ready. Go ahead and take that step out on faith, because growth in nursing happens in the moments where you feel challenged, uncomfortable, and unsure of yourself. So do it, because now is the time, right? And at the same time, give yourself grace, right? Nursing is a demanding job. So just remember that. And no one becomes confident in leadership overnight. It takes mistakes and self-doubt, but you'll get there. You'll grow. That's what it's all about, is growth, continued growth. And so nursing is a career built on service, connection, and lifelong learning, and staying grounded in purpose. So invest in yourself and your patients, and just continue that love, spreading the love, because that's what we do.
And
Thank
being
you.
able to have that mentor or
Yes.
mentors, so important. So important.
Yes. Find your person or your people for sure. Yes.
Or FNA, your organization.
Yes.
Yes. And there's lots of mentors within FNA, thankfully. But thank you so much for those words of encouragement, and thank you so much for everyone for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed, please make sure to follow along for more episodes, and make sure to send to a friend who needs to hear this episode. I cannot wait to see more nurse leaders rise up. And thank you again, Aminah and Andrea, for joining me on the podcast. Leadership doesn't begin when you feel ready. It begins the moment you start showing up differently. The moment you care a little more, the moment you chose to step in instead of stepping back. The moment you realize that people are watching, learning, and feeling the impact of how you move through hard things. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. It may feel really weird. Sometimes it feels like you're being stretched in ways you didn't ask for. Maybe you don't feel ready, but that doesn't mean you're in the wrong place. That doesn't mean you're not ready to lead or you're not a leader. It probably means you're growing into the right place, the right person, and the right leader. So if you've been doubting yourself, if you've been waiting for confidence to finally catch up to you, this is your reminder that it's okay if it hasn't yet already. You don't need to feel ready to lead. You just need to keep showing up. Because ready or not, you're already becoming someone others can follow. And as a nurse, you are a leader. I promise that even early in your career, you can make a difference. So, if no one has told you yet, you may feel like you're leading before you're ready, but it's okay because you are a leader. Can't wait to see you on the next episode. If